It can be difficult to get children to read, much less enjoy reading. Sanford pediatrician Dr. Stephanie Hansen joins us today to discuss how to help your kids enjoy reading. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, not a shocker, new topic, but an important one to readdress. Talking about reading to our kids. Can we talk just about the importance of it? Just start with why it's good for their little brains.
Yeah, well, you know, of course, we always think about developing those early literacy skills and encouraging a love of reading, but it's also just a great way to spend time with your kids. And really, that's what our kids want most from us, is our time and attention.
I agree. And I know I was looking at some of the notes that you sent over, and I said, good idea to reread. Do you mean read the same book over and over?
Yeah, kids really learn well from repetition, and especially if it's a story that's fun or they enjoy it or they see you enjoying it, it's okay to reread books, especially favorites.
Okay, and sometimes I feel like they start to memorize the storyline themselves. That's okay? That's a good part of the whole?
It really is. You know, if you think about it, part of learning how to read is to understand the flow of a story. So do you understand the plot? Do you understand the conflict and the resolution? Memorizing a story can really help you work through some of those things in comprehension.
How about e-readers? Or any kind of tablet form?
You know, I wouldn't rely solely on that, because I think, you know, there are different brain processes looking at an electronic story versus a written story. But really, if that's something that encourages your child to learn to love reading, then I would say go for it.
I feel like, too, it kind of becomes part of a bedtime routine that's also beneficial. We always talk about having a hard time putting kids to bed. Bedtime stories, there's something to that.
Absolutely. That's such a special time for parents and children to share together. It doesn't have to take very long, but it's a way for you to connect one-on-one, to kind of get away from those distractions of daily life.
Now I have kids at the age of, you know, learning to read themselves. How do you break down when you should have them reading to you and you read to them? Can you still do both, or should you? They'd rather me read than them read.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is great benefit to reading aloud to kids, even older kids who can read independently. They're building literacy skills at school. They're oftentimes having assigned reading from school. So having really that special time where you're reading out loud, I think, is really a nice thing.
To your young person. I remember in fifth grade, and fifth grade seems pretty old, our teacher still read a book to us, and we just sat and listened.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something about that, too.
I think many parents enjoy that time with their tweens, and it's one of the last ways to have that connection and that closeness. And not every kid that age will admit it, but most of them enjoy being read to.
Any time limits, I suppose you wouldn't put a limit, but suggestions for how long you should read, how long your kids should read every day?
You know, I think just doing it every day is the more important part of that. And I wouldn't get hung up on how long, but just saying, this is a priority for our family. This is something we enjoy to do together. So whether that's, you know, 5 or 10 minutes or 45 minutes, you know, I think the time isn't the crucial part of it.
I feel like also just the creativity that comes along with using their imagination sometimes. And that's got to be a crucial part of kids too. You have a video game, they don't have to use their, you know, creative thinking at all.
Right, yeah, especially when you're reading out loud and there's not a lot of illustrations. I think that gives kids lots of opportunity to pretend and envision themselves in the role, or think about that story in a different way.
I mean, I know we could go to our librarian. Do you have any suggestions for where people can go? Sometimes it's like, well, what book should I pick? And different age groups. I read this, but my daughter's only this age. You know, kind of where do you start? Sometimes parents get caught up in that.
Yeah, I would absolutely let your child's interests guide them. So if your kid is really into gross stuff, you know, maybe you can find, you know, a little bit of age-appropriate off-color reading. Or if they're into magic and animals, there's plenty of storylines that surround that. Comics are okay, graphic novels are okay, you know, how-to or instructional books are okay. Really just think about what your child gets excited about and let that guide you into the types of books to offer.
Any concerns about Harry Potter and the Harry Potter? Because I heard they kind of, you know, went up in, you know, level as the kids grew up along with her.
Yeah. You know, really thinking about your child and their own developmental needs. If they're a particularly sensitive child or are easily anxious about topics, you may want to be deliberate in how you introduce those books. And I think it's a good idea, especially for books like that, for parents to read them first so that they understand what kind of themes are being presented in the story.
What if you see your child struggling a little bit with reading?
Yeah, just really try to make it fun. It shouldn't be a fight. It shouldn't be a lot of pressure involved. Let them see you enjoy reading. You know, we talk about that a lot. You need to model the behavior that you want to see in your child.
Put down your phone. They'll put down their phone, and you can both read.
Yes.
Good reminders. Great discussion. Dr. Hansen, thank you for coming in today. All right, stay with us. Coming up next here on North Dakota Today, the jail chaplains are spreading the word of faith to those who need it the most.